Hi, I'm Amy, and I apologize for being late. I was having a technical difficulty.
We all do.
It's good to see you all.
All right, well, I'm Ruth Cleet, the trustee of the Elsa Sewell Foundation, and I'll let everybody else on the foundation board introduce themselves.
Dick Murphy.
Hi,
I'm an advisor group of the organization. I'm sorry.
hi, I'm Andy Kusher, one of the board members.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Jordan Cleet Kusher, Program Officer for the Elsa Sewell Foundation.
I'm Bob Wilson. I'm the Executive Director here at DCCH.
I'm
I'm
Amy.
John Ross. I'm the Director of Programs here at DCCH. Jordan, are you related to Andy?
I'm related to Andy and I'm also related to Ruth. Yes, related to both of them.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's how he gets Cleet Kusher as a last name.
exactly.
I'm Amy Pellicano, and I'm the Development and Marketing Director.
I'm Tim Lucas. I'm the Director of Finance and HR.
All right. So I know that Judge Patricia Summey made a discretionary distribution to DCCH last year, the year before. And as an attorney, I used to do some guardian ad litem work, and I'll have to say some of my toughest cases were with DCCH. But, thanks to the social workers, I made it through the visits. So I worked in the termination of parental rights area, and I would represent the children. And I always like to meet my client, unlike other lawyers that they get the assignment from court and then they just sign a paper and it goes back and they have no idea who they're representing. So I always made it a point to meet the children and chat with them and make sure that they understood what was going on. And sometimes that didn't go so well. So I admire your work because I know it's very difficult.
Indeed, it can be really challenging. These kids have gone through so much that, that's part of the reason they're with us, is to work through some of the trauma they've experienced and, heal and find appropriate ways to behave and coping mechanisms and things like that. So, yeah.
And some of them are big escape artists. I know. They escaped, they came back, they escaped, they came back.
Definitely.
So how do you, I'll just kick it off with, how do you differ between Children's Home in Northern Kentucky and what you do? Because you both deal with pretty at-risk populations of children.
John, would you like to field that one?
Sure. Well, some of the obvious differences are that we accept girls and they only have boys. We also accept younger children, but we don't take the oldest kids like they do. They take children up to 18. We only take children up to 14, 15, right around in that area. We have an on-ground school. I think Chunk at times has had an on-ground school. I don't know if they do now or not. But otherwise, we're similar. I mean, we're a nonprofit, started by a church organization. We have our referrals from the same place, and it's the same kind of program basically. So, we're very similar otherwise.
Since kids will age out of your system at 14, do any of them end up at Chunk?
Some do, but one of the quality indicators we have is to be able to discharge a child to a less restrictive family-like atmosphere. So, we're hoping that we're not making lateral moves like that. But occasionally, not too often, but occasionally they might leave our place and go to Chunk. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, just curious. So that was my big question. So if you would like to start your videos or whatever you'd like to do, that's fine. I got my burning question out.
Bob, you're muted.
Yeah, let me see if I can get this going here. So I'll share the screen and oh, okay, I see. Sorry for the, I'm navigating, this is still somewhat new to me as well, so.
Okay.
And let me, I hope I have the volume set correctly as well, but this is about a 4-minute video or so.
What happens to a child when innocence is shattered and trust?
Bob, unmute yourself.
Many of these children feel helpless, hopeless, and alone. The authorities can physically remove these children from the source of their pain. But the trauma they've experienced continues. When a child arrives at the DCCH Center for Children and Families, many are suffering from severe behavioral and emotional challenges. This is Jenna. When she came to us, she had experienced both physical and emotional abuse, as well as neglect. In most cases, an adult's hands are a source of love and security. But for Jenna, a parent's hand had been the thing that harmed her the most. In the classroom, our teachers heal and rebuild the lives of these children and their families. We offer our hearts and hands to receive them with love and compassion and work to bring healing to their deepest fears and pain. Confronting and acknowledging the pain of the past is traumatic. But over time, hands like the one Jenna feared the most became the primary source of healing and safety. Victims of childhood trauma often live in emotional isolation, unable to build close relationships or trust others. The love and acceptance of kids here at DCCH broke down the barriers that helped Jenna thrive emotionally, socially, and spiritually.
Sometimes it would feel like loneliness was my only friend. Until I met Diana. She began visiting me on foster parent weekend. She was kind and gentle. When she would talk to me, I felt safe.
At DCCH, we have created a safe and loving hands-on environment where our children can take a break from the pain and just play.
This is Amy. She's my new best friend. Ken also came to visit me. His hands felt so safe. I knew that I could trust them. That's something I've never known before.
Our mission is to repair hearts, rebuild families, and restore hope through therapy, residential treatment, foster care, and adoption. But we need your help. By volunteering your time, talents, and resources, broken children like Jenna are made whole, and hope is restored. Every child deserves a healthy home and a loving family. When that's not possible, they seek loving foster families and forever adoptive homes.
Would you consider volunteering a few hours a weekend? Or even consider becoming a foster parent for children like me? Learn more about the compassionate work of DCCH Center for Children and Families by going to dcchcenter.org to make a difference. We need your help. Our future is in your hands.
All right, so that's just a quick overview of the services and our mission, and kind of pretty typical of the type of child that we work with. And hopefully you found that useful and instructive in terms of what we do. But to dig into that a little bit more, I'm almost embarrassed to show my video tour after this, but maybe we can give it a whirl and use that as a jumping off spot for some discussions of let's see. I'll try not to put my foot on the brake too much, but I'll stop and start a little bit. So this is our Welcome Center building. This was actually John, maybe you can help, and Tim, you can help remember. We did a capital campaign in 2008 to put this building together. This was done under the guidance and the insistence of my predecessor, Sister Jean Marie Hoffman. They raised a significant amount of money, which this building, I think, serves a lot of filled a lot of unmet needs for us. But this is just an overview of our campus. There's our residential building. Hang on to your hats. It's 275 over in that direction. Playground there. Down the road here, we're on, I think, what is it, Tim? About 170 acres. Is that about right? 170, 180 acres?
Yeah.
And so we have a picnic grounds up here in that area. And then further down the road in the distance, you can see Redwood Rehabilitation Center. They actually rent property. They have a long-term lease with us for $1 a year, but they've been at the front of our property at some point. We're kind of located with I-275 on one side of us, and then there's Orphanage Road down here. And again, just giving you the 360 back to our Welcome Center. As I'd mentioned, this is our newest building. Pay no attention to the reflection in the glass there. Make sure you have your mask on when you come in, please. But you'll recognize some of this footage from the professionally shot video, but this is our reception area. One of the amazing things about this project and this building is that it just really opened up some opportunities for us. I'll show you the gymnasium here in a minute, but this is a signature piece of art that was designed for our welcome area or reception area. I'm gonna back that up a little bit. So if you, this right here, so if you come in here, it really expanded our administrative offices. Prior to that, everybody was on top of each other in the residential building and in the old in the Miller building as well. But these are the various administrative. This is where Tim and myself and John have our office. But the real benefit of this is for the kids. Prior to this building, our gym was the basement of an old building. As you can see here, we've got a full court gym that is really a godsend in cold weather and has been a particular blessing to us during the pandemic. Just giving a place for our kids to come and run off some steam, engage in some fun and healthy activities, and also from time to time, it provides a nice gathering space for events that we would have. We'll have our annual Christmas party in there. We'll also have some trainings, etc. So this has just been a real blessing to us. The other part of this building, if we head down this hallway at a rapid rate of speed, is our school building. And they made reference to it in the video, but just so you're clear, we have an arrangement with Beechwood Independent School District, and they provide the principal and the teachers. We obviously provide the classroom space. very nice classroom space as a result of this remodel. You can see just typical classroom. We have four classrooms for our residents. We also provide behavioral staff, therapeutic behavioral specialists, one in each class to help manage the behavioral aspect of things. Thankfully, we've just been able to, within the past few weeks, get our kids back into the classroom. Even though the building was on our grounds, we still were operating primarily virtually with our kids because of Beechwood protocols and the teachers there. So our behavioral staff that works with our kids in the apartments, like many parents, had to take on the role of educator on top of everything else they did. They really rose to the occasion. It's been a long journey, like I'm sure it has for a lot of folks, but it seems like possibly we're coming out at the tail end of that. And again, we've got the kids back over here in more of a traditional classroom setting. And if anybody has any questions, just hop in. This is actually just one of the older buildings on our campus. It's the bike room where we store and repair the bicycles for our kids. But if you look closely, back in the day, this was where a lot of the bakery goods and the food was cooked and prepared. So it's nice to have that piece of history still on our property. And this is the original residential building, founded in 1927. What it's been used for over the past number of years is where Amy and her crew spend time. That's where our development staff take up residence there. We also have, it's where our consulting psychiatrist meets with the children when they're consulting with them. It houses our foster care, therapeutic foster care and adoption program. So Ron Birch and his case managers for foster care work in here. And then we also have a training room and some other meeting space there. Head back to the Welcome Center just a little bit, I believe. On the one corner of the building that I didn't talk about is devoted to our outpatient therapy center. This is our newest program, outpatient therapy. John, when did we start providing outpatient therapy?
2012.
So 2012. This building was built, and then we had to immediately kind of upgrade the outpatient therapy center part of it. Again, we're blessed with a nice facility. That program, John, you can maybe talk a little bit more about that. Maybe we can stop there. How many, how many people we serve, that sort of thing, what services we offer.
Well, it's a full range outpatient therapy program. We've kind of been looked at as working primarily with children, since that's what our focus and other services are. So we get a lot of referrals for children. We're also in around 10 local schools where our therapists go into those schools and they provide therapy in each of the schools. So you can see that's one of the hallways where the therapist offices are. We have family therapy rooms, larger rooms in there, as well as the individual therapy rooms. We have around 5 therapists. We have 1 contract therapist. That's primarily what the program is. We take both commercial insurance and Medicaid. And we really felt like the Medicaid piece was very important, since the clients that we're serving, it's kind of a continuum of service, really, because some of the kids actually start out in our residential program, and then they move to our foster care and adoption program, and then they might get adopted. And once they're adopted, the adoptive parents may bring them into our outpatient therapy program. And actually, some of the therapists who are in that outpatient therapy program are also therapists for both our residential and our foster care program. They just contract with us to do additional work. So sometimes the child might not even have to switch therapists. So that's a great kind of asset to us in terms of having a continuum of care.
Yes, that continuum of care is definitely something that we like to emphasize. And I know that the main thrust of this grant would be for residential, and we kind of glossed over therapeutic foster care when we whipped by that building. But John, could you talk maybe just a little bit about our therapeutic foster care program?
Yes, it started in 1999. Then in around 2004, we got our adoption license. Prior to that, they were not permitting anyone but the state to have an adoption license. Since then, we have had over 150 adoptions. Again, many of our kids that started out in residential moved to foster care, end up getting adopted. So we recruit families, and we train the families, support the families, provide 24/7 kind of emergency access to us if they need help. It's really one of our great programs. I mean, we have a lot of very committed foster families, and what we've actually done over the last few years is we've expanded it again to kind of emphasize the continuum of care with an independent living program. And currently we have 4 children living off campus in apartments, and it's some of the kids, most of the kids have been kids that from outside of here. They haven't been kids that have been in our foster care program and moved into this independent living program, but there have been a couple that have done that. So again, provides a great continuum for those kids that were in foster care and were not adopted. And we recruit mentors for those kids too, as support for them. But this program has just been again a great continuum of care. We started out with our residential program being an orphanage, and then converting to a residential program in the 60s. And often we said we need a group home or something to help transition these kids out of here. We never were able to kind of pull that off, but what we did is, again, start this foster care program, an adoptive program, and it's just been a great kind of continuum. And again, the therapists who work with them in residential can work with them in foster care, and the psychiatrist that we have who's on campus on Thursdays, who works with all the kids in residential, works with all the kids in foster care. She works with the kids in independent living as well. So there can be that kind of consistency as well between the programs.
Thanks, John.
Sure.
We're quickly working our way over to the residential building, but I included a little footage here. These are some of our equine residents. We actually have a program that is largely donor or volunteer driven. We've had 4 horses that are cared for by volunteers. We have somebody from a local stable who comes out and provides equine related activities for our kids a couple times a week. And it's usually during the fall and the spring. The wintertime, it's a little bit difficult, but it's just now starting back up. And again, with the pandemic, it's just really been incredible, the amount of limitations and strain that it's put on our kids here. So to have something like this open back up and available to them, again, it's not official equine therapy, but just to have the ability for a child to have some sense of mastery over somebody or something larger than themselves. It's amazing some of the kids that have difficulty verbalizing their feelings or communicating, something about being around an animal like that really allows them to open up. So it's again, we're very lucky, very blessed to have this program. That's a picture of our that used to be the groundskeeper's house. Like many places here, it's been converted to something else. This is actually our visitor's house. Many of our kids in residential treatment, even though they've had their parental rights terminated, it's temporarily, and that families are still involved. So we do have visitation. Obviously, when the weather's warm, we encourage them to be outside, but during the colder months or whatever, that building has been repurposed as a spot for visits to occur. And this is just a quick look around a different angle of our property. Again, there's the Welcome Center there. This is our Garden of Hope that people can pay for memorial bricks in that particular area. This is our residential building, which was put together in 1963. And it houses 5 apartments. We have a capacity of, our capacity would be 40 kids, actually 39. We leave 1 bed open as an emergency. So we have roughly about 8 kids at full capacity per apartment. And as mentioned, they are in the custody of the state. We work closely with DCBS to coordinate their treatment with them. The kids are, they are not stationed in or housed in apartments according to age. They're kind of mixed to provide more of a family type atmosphere. And the children range in age from 6 to 14. I would say right now our average age is skewing a little bit higher. John, would you say around 12?
Yes.
So
I think you mentioned earlier that you guys were the only residential program to kind of take boys and girls, I guess, as compared to Chunk. What is it, roughly 50-50, or is it like 80-20, or like, obviously, I guess it'll change kind of month to month, year to year, but what roughly is the gender percentage breakdown?
It can change over the years. Right now, it currently is like 50-50.
Okay.
When I first started, it was about 75-25 boys versus girls, but it's really changed a lot more over the years to where it's really close to 50-50 all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Who's in charge of the apartments in which the children live?
The TBS workers, the therapeutic behavioral specialists, there are 2 people in each apartment. There's a supervisor in that apartment, and then there are crisis people available to the apartment if they need additional assistance.
Do they live there with the kids?
They do not live here. We have 24/7 coverage, though. We have a 3rd shift who's up with in that apartment all night. But since the nuns left, they lived in the apartments with the kids. But since they have moved out and we've had to hire 3 shifts to replace them, we don't have anybody who's like living here.
we always say it takes 6 people to replace 1 nun. They did a lot. Now, of course, I mean, there's more kids per apartment, and the children that we that are referred to us, as you all probably can imagine, they come to us with continually more complex emotional and behavioral kinds of issues. Some of the history that these kids have had to endure, just and you know that too as well. It's you can't make some of this stuff up, and it's really honestly quite surprising that based on what these kids have been through, that some of them have the ability to get up out of bed in the morning. But a lot of trauma, a lot of anger management. The kids can become physically aggressive at times. Certainly difficulty, communicating and forming relationships, and that's what we really try to work with here through a trauma-informed approach with these kids, to recognize the trauma that they've been through and to help them kind of rebuild their lives and their ability to connect to other people, to give them a spark of hope that they can take with them.
I wanted Bob to point out that back wall. We have volunteers come in and paint that wall, and they did the same thing in each one of the apartments where the kids live. They painted a wall, different kinds of pictures and things like that, but it really kind of enhances the atmosphere and makes it more homey.
I wanted to kind of jump in and go back to what Bob was talking about, to answer your question, Ruth, about who is with the children. Like when we say there are, two behavioral therapists and a supervisor, that is, they are the same people in that apartment all the time. So they're consistent. They don't rotate from apartment to apartment. Each apartment has a case manager and also a therapist that is dedicated to those kids in that apartment. So there's that consistency. They're not being moved around.
Do you have problems with drugs and dependency, and because the parents might have been on drugs, the kids are affected?
We really don't have kids that are actively using or, sneaking drugs in or things like that. Now, certainly we have probably 80 to 90% of our kids have been touched by alcohol or drugs, some kind of addictive type behavior by a parent or somebody that they lived with. But our kids have not been coming in actively using.
But certainly directly touched by it. I mean, it wasn't that long ago where, one of our residents, I think he was a 14-year-old boy, learned while he was here that his mother had overdosed and passed away on drugs. And on one hand, I don't know that it was a surprise to him because of the long history of that, but obviously to endure that kind of a loss is just incredible.
Trauma on top of trauma.
Right. And as Amy pointed out, we have the behavioral specialists that work directly day in and day out, the frontline staff with our kids, if you will, but each of our children is assigned a therapist and receives therapy at least on a weekly basis, and family therapy when appropriate. Certainly with the pandemic, we've had to adjust and try to do some of the family type therapy virtually. And I think John also mentioned we have a staff psychiatrist who helps manage the medication for these kids. She comes on to our property and works with our kids. So in terms of the tour, this is the cafeteria. It hasn't been used much lately over the past year, although we're starting to dust it off. The kids usually come down here and use it as a typical kind of school cafeteria for lunchtime. Other meals, breakfast is done in the apartments and dinner is cooked and prepared in our kitchen downstairs and then taken to each of the 5 apartments so the kids can eat in more of a family type style. And it's kind of blurry because I must have been in a hurry or something. One of the other nice benefits, full service kitchen. We hope to bring this back, but the staff are certainly welcome to every day at lunchtime to come over for a free lunch, and it gives them the opportunity to interact with the kids, especially a lot of the folks that are kind of involved in the administrative end of things. It gives them a chance to connect with the youngsters that we're serving. This is a picnic area on the back of the residential building. It was actually leadership of Northern Kentucky a number of years ago put up a shelter and really freshened the space up for us to use. We again, another blessing, another godsend is our pool. That was donated to us several years ago. Last year with the pandemic, it was kind of a challenge by a quirk or just an interpretation. We were designated as a public pool. And so which of course was not allowed to open. So we made several attempts to talk with the health department saying that we're different, but we weren't able to do that. So the pool didn't really open until about the 4th of July weekend. And as you can imagine, having this here as an option for a recreational option for our kids is a godsend. So we are looking forward to getting that cover off the pool as soon as possible this year, hopefully certainly by late or Memorial Day. Um, This is our picture of our kitchen where all the meals are prepared. This is again in the residential building. Heading off of that, we have, again, in the residential building, we have the recreation room, the game room. Our recreation staff was able to, through donations, able to get video games, televisions, air hockey, pool table, a nice space to allow kids to get out of the apartment, again, particularly when the weather's not good or if they need a change of scenery. Here's just a quick view of the apartments. Each apartment has its own dining and kitchen area. We were blessed with a recent donation to be able to remodel the kitchen and front areas of the apartment. And all of these look virtually the same, at least 4 of the 5 do. Again, a new remodeled kitchen, general living area. And then I picked the week that the kids were on spring break, so it was tough for me to film. But down this hallway are the individual. Each child has his or her own individual bedroom, which is monitored at night. There's an alarm system on each bedroom to make sure that the kids stay in there and are accounted for. I don't know if you can see at the end of the hallway. We try to make good use of all of our space. That's a sort of a cool down area back there. If a child's having a particularly difficult time, they're able to go back there and relax. And there's some items back there that can provide some healthy coping skills for them to be able to work through whatever kind of frustration that they're having and kind of re-engage with the group. And I think.
How many people are in each apartment?
What's that?
How many people are in each apartment?
Well, we have at least 2 staff in each apartment during the waking hours for the kids. And then, as John had mentioned, we also have what we call crisis floaters, some people who are able to go back and forth depending on what sort of needs are going on in the apartments. And we also have usually 1 to 2, at least 1 supervisor on duty during every shift. In the evening, typically the ratio is less. But there's at least 1 person in each apartment while the kids are sleeping, typically with a floater.
And we have up to 8
How many kids?
one of those apartments
Kids are in
too.
each apartment.
I'm sorry, say that again, sir.
I say, how many children are in each apartment?
We have the capacity.
How many clients are housed in each?
There's usually 7 or 8 kids in each apartment.
Okay.
So,
Are they separated, girls in one apartment, boys in another, or mixed?
they're mixed. But again, they're all in bedrooms and they're all monitored.
And I think that, that doing that, not separating the kids by gender or age, puts them in a setting that is going to be more typical to a setting that they're going to move from DCCH. So, for example, if you were in an apartment with, all 6 to 8-year-old girls, and then you are discharged to a family setting where there maybe is a 13-year-old boy and a 6-year-old boy, I think this helps them make that kind of adjustment, adjusting to different kids of different ages and genders. So
What's the typical length of stay of a child in your facility? Shortest, longest, and medium?
John?
The average length last year was 9 months. It's varied over the years. I would expect it's going to continue to get shorter. That's what the state's initiative is right now, is to shorten the lengths of stay. But again, last year it was 9 months.
And when they leave, is it always going to either an adoptive family or foster care? They're never going back to their original parents? Is that right to say that, or is that incorrect?
That's incorrect. You
Okay.
know, some of the kids are going back to their parents. Some are going to live with relatives.
Okay.
Some foster care, some adoption, some may make a lateral move, like we talked about the chunk.
Mhm.
John, would you say the majority are going into foster or adoptive homes, or how does that break down?
I'd say about half of the kids are going into foster care who leave here. I'd say about a third of them are going home or to a relative.
Then is there follow-up once these children leave? Do you all follow up with them to see how they're doing, or?
Yes, we provide aftercare for 6 months after the children leave. So we are contacting the guardian and the provider who's working with them. We're contacting them normally, at least initially, we're contacting them weekly. If things are going well, we back off that, and it might only be monthly at some point.
Do you have any data about what happens to them further down the road? Do they go to college? Do they get jobs? Do they go to jail? Do they, what happens to them in the
We'd
long
love to
term?
have that data, but we do not have that data. And the state really would have to get very involved to be able to acquire that data. And that's just not something that they've done at this point, but we'd love to know that. We have kids come back. Most recently I had a kid come back who's 41 years old now. So it tells you I've been here for a long time. But his brother and him were here, and his dad had just died that weekend, and he came back and he wanted to see if we had some pictures of when he was here. And he remembered me. We talked. He asked me about other staff and things like that. So we will have kids come back from time to time to visit here and talk about their experience here.
What's the age range of the children that you house in these apartments?
6 to 14.
So we've developed a reputation for doing good work. It's very hard work, especially for the frontline people who are in there working with the kids every day. They always rise to the occasion. They really have risen to the occasion during the pandemic, that's for sure. I think one of the challenges that we continually face, and that's what, I think why we've approached you all, is that the cost of care that we provide for these youngsters is more than the state reimburses us, so that we get a daily reimbursement rate for each child, the way that the system works right now, and that per diem doesn't cover the actual cost of what we need to provide to allow for the appropriate care of these kids. So we are looking every year historically at about a $1 million hole in the boat just by providing this service. And that's why we have great folks like Amy and her staff, and we look to the support from the community and from foundations and the generosity of people to help us, erase that deficit.
What percentage of support do you get from the Covington Diocese?
Well, we have, first of all, this is their property that we're on, so we have the ability of being on their property. We get probably less than 1% of our funding from the diocese. But again, the property, the use of the property, et cetera, we actually are under officially under the umbrella of the Diocese of Covington. And I meet at least quarterly with the Bishop of Covington to kind of keep him apprised of what's going on, and certainly involve his input on matters of significance. So,
Are they just like a land lease type of arrangement, or do they participate in the construction and upkeep of the buildings?
no, that's on us as well.
Yeah, and I will say that since I have been at DCCH coming up on 4 years, and that $1 million gap in funding has grown. And I mean, Tim can speak to that. He just went through some analysis, and it's looking like it's going to be closer to 1.5 million. So, you know, we really rely on the community's support and are very grateful for it. So we always say, you know, God provides, and it's true.
What happens to children when you can't take them, when you're full? Where do those children end up?
They might look for other residential facilities across the state. There are certainly other ones besides us across the state. In some cases, they might have to place that child outside of the state of Kentucky because maybe they're all full, or maybe the child's challenges are so difficult that no one would accept that child.
Do you have children right now from other parts of the state?
Yes, we do. We don't take any children from out of the state of Kentucky, only kids from Kentucky, but we take them from anywhere in Kentucky. Probably, I would say, of our 30 some kids right now, about 15 of them are from northern Kentucky right now. And one of the things we're able to do in Boone, Kenton, and Campbell counties, if we get kids from there, there's a mental health tax grant that you can apply for. And what they do is they try to make up the difference between what we're getting paid with the state and what it cost us. And so for those counties, we can get some additional financial assistance. But as I said, we accept kids from every county in the state of Kentucky.
Where does that money from these 3 counties come from? Does that come from the ag district, or where does that come from? Each county?
It's a mental health tax that those counties tax the residents for that money. That's where it comes from.
Okay. I mean, does the state legislature, I mean, do they get involved in understanding the needs of their, in the budgeting process? Do they get involved in the needs? I mean, of what your needs are for the hope of maybe increasing the amount of funding that they send to you all?
Yes, they do. We have a trade organization we belong to called the Children's Alliance, and they are in Frankfurt, and they have somebody there who advocates for us and goes into those meetings, pulls us into some of those meetings to testify in front of legislators at times and ask for additional money. And then this session that we were just in, they asked for additional money as well. We did not get it, but we have gotten additional money at times. It's not every year or every other year or anything like that, but occasionally they will give us more.
Which other nonprofits in the area do you collaborate with?
Well, we work with Holly Hill and Chonk. I mean, they are, again, like agencies. We certainly collaborate with Beechwood and Kenton County Schools, Erlanger Schools, Southgate Schools. Those are the ones that we're working with them with their kids. We have collaborated more closely with North Key at times, the Community Mental Health Center here locally. They reserved a bed from us at times, paid us for that bed, even if they didn't have a child that was in that bed. We work with the local psych hospitals like Sun and Children's Hospital. We have kids that are in those programs at times for brief times and then come back to us. Are there other ones I'm not thinking of, Bob?
I think that's a pretty good list. I mean, we also have historically on a more practical level collaborated with like Master Provisions to help provide inexpensive or donated food for us to use with our kids to help us contain costs that way.
What about outside extracurricular or enrichment activities off the campus? Do you do anything?
Yes, we have a recreation director, and this obviously got really kind of curbed because of the pandemic. But the plan is that every month, twice a month, the kids are going off grounds during the school year. During the summer, the kids are going off grounds once a week. And so they plan activities, whether that be a Reds game, going to Sunlight Pool, going to Kings Island. There's 3 days where they go to a day camp in the summertime as well in the area. They go to Florence Freedom Games. They like to go to that place that has the video games and Buster's.
David Buster's.
Yeah, they love that. The kids love that place. They'll go out and they'll take them out to eat too at times. But it's a great sort of thing, and it's really hurt us this last year that the kids did not have that to look forward to. It's just really a great asset to have that, though.
What do you
Go ahead.
What do you do about medical screenings and health, like vision, hearing, and just general health checkups, vaccinations? How do you keep up with a child's health?
Well, we try to get the medical records from the state when they come in, but so that we can get them into the doctor, because we want to get them to have a physical as soon as they get in here. So they have the dental, the physical, the eye, that sort of thing. We do that with all the kids. And then if there's some that have special sort of needs, we work with that too. We rarely have a situation where a kid needs braces, but that has happened. With glasses, we have kids that break their glasses. And so we've worked with other organizations to help us when we can't, get the insurance to cover more glasses. But yeah, we do work with all the kids on all their medical needs. And that's really important with these kids, because, some of the kids really, their medical needs have been neglected, particularly their teeth. So we've had kids that have had to have oral surgery because they've had so many cavities.
Who pays for that? I mean, is there an insurance program, or do you have help with paying for those?
The medical card, the Medicaid that the kids all have will pay for those services. Yes.
Are you familiar with St. Joseph's Orphanage in Cincinnati?
Yes.
Yes.
How would you compare yourself to that? We've been there.
Well, I would say in many ways we're similar. With our residential program, I know they've expanded more into some day treatment kinds of options. Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with the executive director there, and we certainly talk quite often to kind of compare notes and that sort of thing. But I would say fairly similar.
They're much bigger than us, though. They get a lot of funding. That's certainly one difference.
But it's a tough crowd too.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, they do have the 2 campuses, and this is our sole campus. But
so do they ever get any of your kids? Like if you're overcrowded or can't take any new kids and there's no place in Kentucky, would they be sent over there or not? Or is that just a hard state line?
I guess it could possibly be, but typically it's a pretty hard state line. I think pretty much everything is done to make sure that a child is being cared for within the state, unless there's just really some major extenuating circumstances or very specific needs.
Oh, I know it. I mean, just logically, it seems like in the greater Cincinnati area, for the benefit, if there is anything to be done with the parents staying together, that being shipped off to Paducah or someplace in Kentucky is not as beneficial as staying around here.
Right. And we just recently have met with the head of DCBS, or the social work the people who manage the children's cases through the state. And one of her big initiatives was to really do whatever she can this year to any child that's referred in this 3 or 5 county area for residential treatment, that they are around here, because there's obvious advantages to having the child so close. And she's actively pursuing that with our organization, with Children's Home of Northern Kentucky, with Holly Hill, saying, let's all partner together it just makes good sense to keep these kids a little bit closer to their home for a variety of reasons. So I think you're definitely on target with that.
One thing that's helped is the telehealth though. I mean, it's one positive. I mean, where the kids can actually have visits through Zoom, or we can have family sessions through Zoom instead of over the telephone. It's still not ideal, but it is better than where we were before.
And I'll add in, when we talk about the children's health, when they come in and how we're assessing them, there's also the very significant aspect of mental health. And our therapists say that 90 to 95% of the kids come in with general anxiety disorder, and about 80 to 85% of them suffer from PTSD. So, they're, that's an immediate evaluation, and that's addressed as quickly as possible. So
And some pretty complex, like I said, emotional and behavioral difficulties. I think maybe, John, you would agree with me that it's as early as, or certainly 10 years ago, a lot of these kids probably would have been in more of a psychiatric hospitalization kind of placement. So the type of child that's being referred to us, again, there's just more intense and pervasive types of issues that we're trying to work through with these kids.
Dick, do you have any more questions?
No, does the ed district, are you involved with the ed district at all as far as funding is concerned?
I'm not sure what that is.
No, we are not.
Well, aren't you? Okay, because I mean,
No.
sometimes some of the funds are funneled through the ed districts throughout the state, and then that money is funneled to organizations. I know Senior Citizens, most of their money comes from the feds to the state, then to the local ed district. So I didn't know if you were part of that, if they did anything like that or not.
Dick used to be county judge executive of Kenton County.
Ah,
But I recognize you.
great.
Plus, I also served as a representative for about 6 years, so I was familiar with a lot of the funding down there at that time, but that's been ancient history, so. But
But you live, you're a Northern Kentucky resident, is that correct?
yeah, yeah.
Did
Did
you happen,
now?
were you a Blessed Sacrament parishioner at any
Yes, I
time?
was.
I
For many years, I was president of the parish council for about, I think, 6 or 8 years.
Okay, I'm a parishioner there, and I recognize you from church.
Yeah, no, I was the father contribution era.
Uh,
Andy, you have any other questions?
No, that was a lot of info and I was not that familiar with it. So that was a very good presentation. And
So-
Bob, don't beat yourself up. The video was fine. I was only a little nauseous from
Okay.
smoking cigarettes.
I didn't see anybody turn too green, so I thought maybe we were in good shape.
You did fine on that video. It was very helpful.
Well, that's nice. Yeah, I'm sure I'll get 4 emails that say, "Don't quit your day job," though.
Well, we can help you on that. I spent a lot of time on television, but it was pretty good. So that was good.
All right, well, before I go to Jordan, does anybody from DCCH have any questions or anything they want to throw in?
I just want to say thank you so much for your consideration. I knew Elsa years ago when I worked at United Way with Principal Gifts. And so I'm just really thrilled that you all are considering supporting us. So thank you for that.
Well, Dick worked with Elsa for a long time at Channel 5.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
About 20 years.
Wow.
And my father and Elsa were actually born next door to each other on Greenup Street in Covington. So
Oh,
they
is that
were,
right?
Dang.
you talk about lifelong friends. They actually started out life together.
I'll say, wow.
So, all right, well, Jordan,
Yeah, I have no other questions. Our board meets at the end of this month on April 29th. And we usually get back to everybody within a week of the meeting. So first week of May, you'd be hearing back from us.
Okay, that,
Certainly, if other questions arise or you need additional information, just feel free to give any one of us a call.
Okay, will do. Great. Thanks for taking the
Thanks for
time
your
this morning.
consideration.
thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye.
Meet
All
you.
right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.